Well, hey everybody. It's the 13th day of January 2025. I'm Jan Erickson, and this is As Above, So Below. Well, my little vacation ended up being a little bit longer because at the end of, we got our COVID boosters. My husband got his on Thursday the 26th. I got mine on the 27th, and by the evening of the 28th, he was not feeling well, which we just thought was a reaction to the booster. Well, no. And how we got COVID, I have no idea other than maybe he touched something or I touched something. But anyway, because we wear masks everywhere we go. So there was no reason for this other than that and just not using hand sanitizer after, I guess. It's the only solution we have here as to what happened. But we both did pretty well. He did worse than I did, but with that said, he still did okay, and I didn't even have a fever. So, but anyway, we tested negative yesterday, and I tested positive on the 5th, and he tested positive before that. And so, anyway, we were about 4 days apart on our getting it and symptoms and all of that. So, but we're good now. So. I'm back, and we'll see how this goes. See if my voice will stay here and not give out on me. But let's go ahead and get started in the new year here. Oh, one thing I did a rune casting for the whole year. It's a monthly one, so there's 12 divinations there, if you will. So if you want to check that out over there at the blog at Stepping Aside, the web address there is imsteppingaside.com. You can click on more below the video, and if you forget, and it'll be right there at the top. We're going to start today with Perthro. Now, Perthro is an interesting rune. It's the 14th rune of the Elder Futhark, so it's going to have a 5 numerology, at least in terms of placement. So it's about change in terms of the and protection, innovation, variety, all of that. But basically, it's the cup from which either dice are tossed or the runes are cast. So it's a rune of chance. It's a rune of fate. And I generally interpret this as who's going to control your fate. Is it going to be you? Is it going to be, and if it's you, is it higher self or is it ego? Are you going to give your fate over to someone else or something else or circumstances? So this is Perthro. Here, and it's directional. Here is childbirth, and it can also mean the womb. Here you have a cauldron. This is open to birth. This is open to death, or new beginnings or endings, maybe. But let's just think of it in terms, at least right now, of how we manage our fate in life, and where is our awareness coming from? Again, is it coming from higher awareness or is it coming from ego? That would be the most, that would probably be the best way to look at this. But again, are you being so passive that you allow everybody else to determine what it is you're going to do in life? That could be another way of seeing it. Let's look at the geomancy runes. We have Puella or Puea. One of the 2 youthful energies of the geomancy set here. Puella or Puea is the little girl rune, whereas Pur would be the little boy rune. Both have issues with impulse control, although with little girls it's usually thought that it's just excessive curiosity. But Puella's also she's fickle. She's here, there, and everywhere. She's passionate. She can be superficial, but there's harmony, and maybe she ignores the signs of imbalance within her. She could be a little scattered in her focus. So this is Puella. This would be Pur, her counterpart, her brother, if you will. I had 2 boys, and if you've ever raised boys, they have a little bit of a lack of impulse control at times. And so if you look at the 2 runes together, you're kind of looking at, are you going to stay focused so that you're in charge of what happens in your life? Or again, is your focus going to be so scattered that it's just not something where you really notice some things that you should be noticing in your life? So, but we'll see. Let's take a look at the cards here. I'll pull 3 cards here in a little bit. And we'll see. I'll cut the deck, take the lower half, and take 3 cards. Well, we have one from each grouping in the tarot. We have the Tower from the 16th rune of the major card of the major arcana. Well, we also have the Queen of Cups, and we also have the 5 of Cups. And so we have a run on Cups. Cups reflects the water element, and so you're talking about emotions. You're talking about empathy, compassion, also change, momentum. Water transforms things, especially if there's a flood. You see what happens, and when there's a big flood, it transforms the land because it goes places it's not supposed to be going. But so we're really looking at, with the Queen here, we're looking at somebody who's very receptive. She's quiet. She's reflective. She may have trouble setting boundaries. She may meddle a little bit, but she's and realistically, like the King, she's only so trustworthy. But there's that element, of maybe Puella still in her, where her focus is a little bit scattered. And so, but here you see her sitting next on her beautiful throne. You see the undines here, the little mermaid-like creatures. You see because they're little fish bottoms here. And other than that, they kind of look like little cherubs, really. And again, Cups is about love. And so, she's very loving and kind and wise. But again, maybe not always as trustworthy as you need her to be, but it just could be her focus is all scattered. So the Queen can represent either you or can represent a woman, an older woman in your life that may be trying to meddle a little bit in your life. When you have again with Perthrow here, again, who's going to try and control your fate? So you could be somebody who inserts yourself into the lives of other people, maybe with, maybe you need better boundaries, or it could be somebody else that's older, that's an older woman that's trying to do that with you. It could just be someone it could be a family member or what have you. But the issue here, it may be because with the 5 of Cups here, you see some loss. You see some heartache. You see 3 overturned chalices sort of to the left front there, kind of to the front and to the left before him there. You see a creek running here. This is probably his home and the arched bridge that takes him there. He's wearing black, so he's very somber. He's upset. You see, and he's so focused on his own grief and loss and upset that he can't see the emotional stability here behind him. So something's changed with the 5. And I think, with Perthrow, with its numerology also being 5, there's a link there, I think, where maybe something has happened and it's controlling his emotions. It's controlling his emotional balance. And maybe there's somebody that might want to come in and try to tell him what to do, and maybe he's not really wanting to do that. But let's talk about the Tower. Here we have the 16th card of the major arcana, and you've got 7 numerology. It even kind of looks like the scales if each one of these people represents the pan, and here's the top. Here you have the lightning bolt that comes in and blows the top off of things, blows the lid off of everything. And you see the fire everywhere. You see smoke coming out. You see fire coming out of the windows. And these 2 people, perhaps the King and Queen, are falling. And we don't know that they're falling to their death. There's a moat probably there. And so there's falling into the water, we'll say. But the Tower's about transformation. Something sudden happens, or something that's happening is extremely, it's explosive. And it's something that is so profound that it invokes change, basically. And if you're looking at, if you're not paying attention with Puella, you might miss some of it. You might only see the surface of it, and you're not going to look down more deeply to see what this is really about. And so you might be given to allow that transformative experience to control your fate. If we put that at the beginning here of the reading, it could be that something transformative has really happened here, a rebalancing of sorts, where you have then a big sense of loss that has to do with home, maybe something in your personal life that's changed. And maybe you have somebody that you need some compassion and love from, who may or may not be able to give you the kind of advice you're looking for. But maybe, if we don't look at her in terms of somebody with boundary issues, then maybe she is somebody that you can talk to and get some compassion from. But on the other hand, if we put the Tower at the end, then the issue that's happened, the change here that's happened, that's been profound, and that's resulted in some loss and upset and being bereft about something, feeling bereft, and then you get some information here from an older woman who's capable of, who is an older woman in authority, who is capable of having a life where she's learned a lot of things. And she's willing to share that with you and to extend that love and compassion that you need during this difficult time that you're in. And from that, then, maybe something transformative can happen and a rebalancing can take place, where you're not so caught up in the emotions of what's happened, and you can actually then see something in the distance that you can look toward, and a new path may open or new awareness may come, where you realize that perhaps you've put all your eggs in one basket here, and it didn't work out. Maybe that might be one way to interpret that, and you get some advice from the Queen, who's willing to share what she's learned in her life. That could be very, very transformative, and you awaken to a new type of emotional balance, if you will, in how you see things, to where maybe you're going to broaden your view a little bit and not be so caught up in one thing. That could be one way to look at this. But again, if not, it could be something that something unexpected has happened, because when you start to look at that could be ultimately trying to control your fate. And so you're going to have to be really strong. If that's not the direction you want to go, if that's not the experience that you want to have, then you're going to have to be very, very strong emotionally, so that you can take the momentum from what you learn and go in a better direction here, with how you see things and how you feel about them. We have a lot of things coming up here in the country, in our country anyway, and I think in others too. There's a lot of chaos that's going on. People don't quite know what to think or do about it all. There's massive fires, as everyone knows, down in Southern California. You get those Santa Ana winds, and they're 100-mile-an-hour winds. There's no way to put them out. They just have to burn out. We know what that's like around our area in the summertime. Where the fire, the hot shots and the wildland firefighters, sometimes they have to go back away from it and burn a break and just let it burn. And it's no fun for the rest of us if the wind's blowing in our direction, but at the same time, they can't risk their lives. And that's kind of the scenario that I see going on down there. It's very similar, and so there's only so much they can do. And if the winds are really high, then the retardant planes can't fly. The helicopters that dump water, they can't fly because the winds are too strong. And so it's a very dangerous situation, but it's just how it is. And there's really nothing anybody can do. I know they want to blame the governor and they want to blame everybody else, but it's just not true. And so I know they said that some Oregon fire trucks went down and they wouldn't let them in. Well, that's not true either. None of that is true. And so there's been a lot of disinformation that's going on while people are trying to cope with loss, and looking for somebody that actually has the facts. which there are, and they're being told. It's just you've got this other element that seems to want to lie all the time, and there's the deception. And so maybe out of something like that, when you understand that you're being deceived, then some transformation happens within, and you start to understand what the truth really is, and who's there for you and who's really not, who's just trying to undermine you. And so I think that this reading can be very general, because especially when you're talking about Perthrow and who controls your fate. Are you going to let disinformation and lies control your fate, control what you believe is true? Or are you going to look deeper and go to the source and find out, well, what's really going on? And if there's reason to be irritated, then sure. But if there's not, then don't waste your time, except maybe be irritated at the people who are lying, right? Because that's been going on now here for a very long time. And you have to wade through all of it to try to figure out what's actually fact and what isn't. And I've just sort of come to the conclusion that there's one side of the coin that just seems to lie their pants off, and the other side that doesn't. And for me, it's easy. But for others, maybe you're still working that out, right? But if not, if this is just simply more personal and having to do with something personal going on in your life right now, you could have experienced some loss, and going to somebody with who's older, with more experience, who's loving and compassionate and can extend that empathy to you, can hear what you have to say and what you're sharing, and to try to help you gain a different perspective, which could be quite transformative and rebalancing. So if that's the case, don't be afraid to seek that person out. Just be mindful of the fact that you don't want to be too impulsive about it. You don't want to take the first person who comes along necessarily. You might want to be sure, if it's an aunt or something, or an older neighbor that tends to get into your business, well, maybe that's not the person you need to talk to, but who knows, maybe it is. So just be careful there, and don't act on impulse with the Puella influence here. And you stay in charge of who controls your fate. Just because somebody gives you advice doesn't mean you necessarily have to take it. If it doesn't feel right, then it doesn't feel right for a reason. If it does, if it's something you want to try, well, it's still your choice to do it. Don't give over just because you're upset about things. Don't give your fate over to somebody else that may not have your best interests at heart. So I think that's it here for today. I don't think we need to do another card. One thing we probably need to do, let's just check in on what the numerology of this is. We had a 5 from Perthrow here. What was 14? We'll just say 5. Plus 5 plus 5 from the 5 of Cups. The Queen doesn't have one. Then we have a 7 numerology from the Tower. So we have 17. 17 reduces to 8. So you're looking at inner strength. And again, regardless of what this is about for you, there's some inner strength that you're going to have to use to maintain control over the Perthrow aspect of the reading and who controls your fate. It's going to take that inner strength to do that. Leadership, even. To decide for yourself which direction you go and how you're going to see the experience that you're, having some loss with. So, or emotional loss, I should say. So anyhow, well, that's it. I feel like my voice is starting to get a little scratchy again here. So I'll just go ahead and end this and have a little drink of tea. And so I'm hoping over the next couple weeks I'll be better. I'll get better every day, but at least I'm negative. I don't have it anymore, so that's good. But you just kind of have to let it all finish out, I guess. I don't know. We didn't do the whole Paxlovid thing. Neither one of us did. So we just weathered it, and realistically, we got through it. So anyhow, thanks for watching. I hope you're all doing well. I hope that you're healthy, and come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.